I'll be honest, I don't play a lot of Battle Royale games, mostly because they all feel the same. And that's where Naraka Bladepoint comes in. It's a hero BR that focuses on fast-paced melee combat and crazy mobility. So I decided to pick up the game and check it out because it's their 1-year anniversary. And to celebrate, you guys can grab the game for 50% off on Xbox and PC. Just click the link in the description before August 29th. And thanks to Naraka for sponsoring the video. First off, let's get into the basics. I said Naraka is different as a BR game, but it still follows some of the same rules. Naraka has 13 different heroes to choose from, each with their own unique skills and unique ultimate ability. And what's really cool is you get to customize their armor, unlock it over time, and get different weapon skins. You can truly make, your hero feel like yours. What's also super unique though is you can create a custom face basically from scratch on any of these heroes. So here is the beautiful face I've made for Tian Hai. I don't even know what this is. He looks insane. Once you've chosen your hero, you get dropped on a map. You get to play in solos, duos, or trios. And of course, you're going to be searching around the map, collecting the best loot you can from chests, fighting enemies, all while making sure you're in the ring, which is constantly getting smaller and pushing everyone towards a certain point on the map. And similar to other BRs, there is a revival system, but it's really nice in Naraka. It's far less punishing because when you die in early trio games, you can transform into a soul and resurrect yourself at a soul altar. So if you pick the wrong fight, if you get ganged up on, which is something that happens really easily in Naraka, especially if you're playing trios, you don't have to sit around and watch your teammates for the rest of the match. You can just go and revive yourself. At the very beginning of every match, you're going to choose where you're going to drop on the map, and certain parts of the map are labeled with better loot. So obviously, as a team, you want to choose, I want to go to the place with the best loot, make sure I get the best gear at the very beginning. But that also means other teams are going to do the exact same thing. So it makes the early game more chaotic, but I think it's really worth the risk. So when you get down to the map, what are you actually doing? You're picking up armor, you're picking up weapons, but you're also picking up things called soul jades. These are passive bonuses that usually give you more damage, more resistance, but there's also some that are specific for weapons. So for example, if I love the katana and I find a soul jade that specifically boosts the katana, I'm going to be in a really good position and probably have an advantage over my enemy. You've also got these vendors that are scattered around the map, and if you go up to these and spend some coins that you find either in chests or around the map or from battles, then you can buy things like bag upgrades. And these are huge, guys. This is something that I would tell you to immediately invest in. Get a weapon extension upgrade, get a soul jade extension upgrade, and get just a bag upgrade. These are really important and will maximize your potential late game. The most experience I have with Naraka is in trios, and honestly, guys, the best way to play trios is just to stick together, because the problem is, anytime you're caught by yourself by another team, you're probably dead unless you have a lot of grappling hooks or you're really good at navigating the map and dodging attacks. If you stick together, that gives you the best chance to make it to the end, and then once you actually go to the final circle and there's 10 people left in the 60-player mode, then you're in a really good spot. The first thing I want to show you guys is the new map, Holoroth. This is in the Herald's Trial mode, which is basically BR, and you have to survive against 60 players. You can play this in solos, duos, and trios. But any way you decide to play, it's pretty insane. It's got 5 unique areas representing 5 different civilizations, each with their own cultures and architectural styles. First, you've got the Plumed Castle in the middle of the map, Imperial Village to the north, the city of Tang to the southeast, and Matab in the southwest. What's so cool is these areas feel built out, they feel lived in and handcrafted. So it's like you're exploring a part of the past while you're playing the BR mode, and sometimes you get distracted. You can also see the entirety of the map from any one of these places, right? It's not like this stuff needs to be rendered out, it's just there. So you get these gorgeous views all the time while you're fighting to stay alive. So it's absolute chaos. And speaking of chaos, Holoroth is full of danger. And it has a new extreme weather system that's only on this map. In the north, you have snowstorms. So these will randomly appear in certain parts of the map, and you'll see your character start to shiver when they show up. The thing is, if you stay inside of these long enough, you're gonna freeze and you'll start to see your rage meter slowly go away, which is devastating, so you want to make sure and avoid these at all costs. Around the Plume Castle and Matab, you have sandstorms, so these spawn rising winds, which can block ranged attacks and players from entering them, but they can also give you a boost to reach higher places. Next is Ghostly Mist, and these leave ghostly hands on the ground. So these, if you run into them, they'll grab you and silence you, which means you can't use skills for a few seconds. Obviously, that's a huge disadvantage, so one of the best ways to use these is to lead enemies into that area for an easier kill. Basically, Holoroth is full of a ton of interesting weather mechanics, and you can use these to your advantage, of course, but you also have to be really careful that these don't screw you over, right? Because they can easily be used against you by enemy players. Outside of weather, though, Holoroth is full of traps, way more traps. Spikes can be found on the outskirts of the Plume Castle area, and if your enemy isn't paying attention, you can lure them right over for a knockdown. Trap clips are like bear claws. You can set them down, and once an enemy gets close, it'll mark them on the map for 30 seconds, and it prevents them from using the grappling hook, which is a huge advantage for you. Thorny rollers are these massive traps that just constantly roll around certain areas of the map. And yeah, if your enemy isn't paying attention, you can lure them right in, and this thing will hit them really hard. If you're in Matab, you can use these pendulums that swing back and forth to whack enemies up the platform for a quicker getaway. Meanwhile, in the Plume Castle, there's a huge chandelier, and yeah, I feel like you guys know what happens if you shoot this thing and someone is standing underneath it. Sand conjaks are these root flower looking things that kind of glow, and if you trigger these first, it'll blind your enemies, which makes them easier to kill. But the great thing is you and your team can still see them, so it's a huge advantage. Cactuses can be shot and it'll trigger a wave of spikes shooting out from them, which knocks down everyone in the blast zone, even you and your team if you get caught in it. In the northwest, if you're in this cave, you'll find these ice cones. And yeah, these will fall down on enemies if you shoot them for a nice chunk of damage. Also in the west, you can find frost moths just kind of flying around, and these will cause a fog of ice if you get caught in them, which freezes enemies. Again, huge advantage for you, huge disadvantage if you get caught in it. With all of these different elements, it's about using this for you and your team, right? You never want to get caught in this stuff, and it's kind of inevitable because there's so many different things going around on Holoroth, but you want to, minimize the damage it's doing to you, but maximize the damage it's doing to your enemies. But that's not it. Holoroth has some secrets, and one of the coolest things in this map is a puzzle. South of the Plume Castle, there's these statues, which are, situated in a way it's like, yeah, this obviously there's something here. Turns out if you shoot or hit these statues, they will rotate, and this is a puzzle. So if you solve the puzzle, you actually win a prize, which you can do every single time you're on this map. To me, this is kind of like a knowledge is power thing. If you know about this, you can go this every single time and get that advantage over other people. I'm sure this is not the only secret, it's just one of them that I've found, but after a half dozen matches on Holoroth, I feel like there's parts of this place that I really just haven't even seen yet. But my favorite area so far has to be the floating rocks above the plumed castle, because there's just so much verticality where most of the fighting seems to happen on ground. You're doing it in mid-air up here. So you have to use your grappling hook to jump from rock to rock, and if you stand in one place, you're probably dead, or you're going to get knocked off to the very bottom, which will kill you. So it's easily the most chaotic place to fight. Moving on, let's actually talk about the gameplay, because as cool as the map is, I think the gameplay is really the foundation of why Naraka is fun. Naraka Bladepoint is a BR that focuses on melee combat, and it's got this nice mix of being easy to pick up and play, but of course, it's difficult to master. And the great thing is, if you've ever played rock, paper, scissors, which I don't think I know another human being that hasn't, you can understand Naraka's combat system. You've got common attacks, which are white, focus attacks, which show up as blue, and counter strikes, which appear as red. Common attacks are your bread and butter basic moves, and you can mix and match horizontal and vertical strikes for some flashy combos, depending on which weapon you're using. Focus attacks deal more damage, but they take time to charge up, and these require you to hold down the horizontal or vertical strike buttons to pull off, and yeah, they look really cool. And again, depends on which weapon you're using for what you get. Counter strikes are obviously counters, and these will deflect and interrupt blue attacks only. They don't protect you from common white attacks. So basically, again, rock, paper, scissors. White beats red, red beats blue, and blue beats white. It's something that's super easy to understand as a concept, but of course, it takes time to get a hold of and really use well in fights, because Naraka can get very chaotic. There's a lot of different weapon types, there's a lot of skills, and a lot of movement. And speaking of, Naraka has a movement system that rewards you for being agile and constantly moving like a ninja. So you can jump, crouch, dodge, sprint, and grappling hook. And the really cool thing, I didn't know this in the beginning when I started playing, but you can actually jump over and crouch under horizontal attacks. And it's really difficult, but really cool when you manage to pull that off and actually learn how that works. You can dodge side to side to avoid vertical attacks. You can also cancel out of blue focus attacks using the dodge. So you can initiate your focus strike and then dodge out of it, which is, more of an advanced mechanic. If you've ever played a fighting game, this is basically like a feint. And if you run into somebody doing this, you're fighting against someone who knows what they're doing. The grappling hook isn't just for getting around, it's something you can use in combat, and you really should, because if you grapple hook an enemy and hit one of the attack buttons on the way, you deal some nice damage when you actually hit them. So you can use movement to dodge around attacks, but also set up attacks. If you jump and then hit one of the horizontal or vertical attack buttons, you'll get a different move depending on the moveset with the weapon. So the best advice that I can give you guys in Naraka is to always be moving. If they give you all of these crazy options, it's basically in your best interest to be super annoying to fight against. If you're always bouncing around and moving and dodging and jumping and grappling, your opponent really can't predict what your next move is going to be. And that's the thing, right? The key is to learn your opponent's moves and predict what they're going to do. But if you can step back and sort of predict their prediction, that's when you get an edge and you can easily take out anyone you're fighting. Now, by this point, I'm sure you've noticed Naraka has a ton of different melee weapons, and what makes things even more interesting is these each have their own unique mechanics and movesets to learn. The newest weapon is the dual blades, which has some insane combos. You've got the longsword, which is a great jack of all trades weapon with great reach and awesome focus attacks that send out shockwaves. Then there's my personal favorite, the spear. This thing has crazy range, surprisingly quick combos, and it's just a pain for the enemy to deal with. Next is the dagger, which is quick and has some really sick combos you can use with the dodge, but of course at the cost of having zero reach. You gotta be really close to use this. Nunchucks are similar, but more technical, and they give you a chance to stun enemies and have some cool stuff if you use the focus attacks. The greatsword is your classic, massive heavy weapon that deals insane damage, but it's super slow, so you have to really telegraph these and be careful because, again, Naraka is a game about moving very quickly. And then there's the katana, which is like a faster longsword, but it sacrifices, with less damage. Finally, there's the Blood Ripper, which is a unique weapon you can only find in Modus chests. It's super slow, but very powerful. Since there's such a big roster of weapons to choose from, I'd suggest you guys try and find all of them and see what fits your playstyle best, because they all have their pros and cons. It's really about finding something that just feels good in your hands and finding, of course, a blue, purple, or gold version so you're getting the most damage. As if that wasn't enough, Naraka also has a list of ranged weapons. And the thing is, Naraka is a melee-focused game, but these are super powerful too. This is a great tool to open up into a fight with, get a little bit of damage in the beginning while you guys are closing the gap, or for finishing off an enemy. If they try to run away, you can just pull out your bow and kill them really quickly. Speaking of the bow, I love this thing. It's definitely my favorite. It deals great damage to the body and massive headshot damage with a charged arrow. The repeating crossbow is kind of like an SMG, so it's automatic, gives you great damage, but only up close, and you have to hit all of those shots. The cannon is awesome, but it's super slow. If you land your shots, you're gonna obliterate enemies, but if you miss, it's kind of a trade-off. The musket is basically your marksman rifle. Anyone who plays a lot of FPS, you're gonna be really good with this. It deals great damage, but it's slow to reload. You need a pretty good aim to use it well. And then you've got the Swarm and the Flamebringer. Both of these are unique ranged options you can only find in those special Modus chests. These are super powerful and crazy useful against groups of enemies, but obviously they're going to be more rare. That's really just scratching the surface on Naraka and the combat, because this is a hero BR, right? Every hero has a special skill and an ultimate skill, which means you can really mix and match with the white, blue, and red combat system. I've played a little bit of all of the heroes that I have unlocked, but I've really stuck with Tian Hai because I kind of like, he's a monk. That's kind of a thing that I've always been gravitated towards with these kinds of games. And I like this guy because his main skill is basically like a defensive one. You can upgrade it to do different things, which is cool, but it basically calls down this bell and deflects any attacks that, come towards you. So if you ever get overwhelmed in battle, you just use that and it's really helpful. But his ultimate is insane. You turn into this giant monster and you get an entirely new moveset. You get a ton of health. And again, it's something that you use in specific situations where if your team is in a huge fight, you just pull this out and it can really sway the tide of the fight. But like I said, there's a ton of different heroes with different abilities, different skill sets and strengths and weaknesses. And yeah, I really do need to keep exploring these because I feel like I've just scratched the surface. Now, if you're looking for something a little bit different that's actually not PvP, Naraka has a special PvE mode called Showdown. This is a special mode that only appears on weekends. You can play it with your friends if you want to, or go in it solo, but it's really difficult, so you probably want to find some friends or matchmake. Now, this mode is completely different. It has unique characters and special skills that aren't available in PvP, in the Herald's Trial. What's super cool is you get to go face to face with these massive bosses. These battles are insane, and it's really nothing you're going to experience in the PvP modes. Right now, the PvE mode Showdown has 2 stages. You've got Eventide Ember and Omnious Descent, and each of them has 4 difficulties to choose from. You've got Normal, Hard, Night Scream, and Legend. Right now, Showdown has only 4 heroes to choose from, and again, it's got a separate combat system, so you can look through these heroes, find which ones have the skills that you like, and the preset weapons that you like, and move on from there. So what's the point of this? You have to complete challenges while you have the vitality in order to earn experience and level up these heroes. And the upgrades will grant each hero different new skills. Vitality is basically like a stamina system. So if you don't have the required vitality to play, you're not going to earn experience, but if you want to do it just for fun, you can still play Showdown without vitality. Once you clear a specific stage with a specific hero, you're going to unlock the corresponding story, and that's how you basically progress. But you can also race. So this is like a PvE time trial mode, but you can only participate in the racing leaderboard once you've passed the Omnious Descent legendary difficulty, which of course is really hard. So that's going to be for like the best of the best players. Really, the point of this mode is to give you something different in Naraka, so it's not just a BR game, right? You've also got this special mode that comes around every once in a while, and you can join up with your friends, unlock some really exclusive, different, rewards, and just have a good time. All right, guys, that was a ton of information, but I hope it gives you a solid starting point on Naraka Bladepoint, because it's really a fun game, and I hope you guys check it out. If you click the link in the description right now, there's a 50% discount between August 18th and August 29th on all 3 platforms. So that's going to be Steam and Epic on PC, or on Xbox, and it's also on Game Pass. If you've got Game Pass, you can check out the game. It's already on there. Naraka is running a Most Liked Comments event on my channel, and the winner gets a $50 Amazon gift card. All you have to do is reply to my pinned comment below with happy birthday to Naraka Bladepoint and point out something that you like about the game. The person with the most likes in 3 days will receive a $50 Amazon gift card. Again, thanks to Naraka for sponsoring this video and really exposing me to the game so I could show it to you guys today. It's really a blast. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to hit that like button, subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, and hit the bell so you get notified on my next upload. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.